The Atlanta Braves lost Ronald Acuña Jr. to injury tonight against the White Sox. Here's everything we know about the injury. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today, a production of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. I'm your host, Lindsey Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. And there's never really a good time for an emergency pod. I am recording this at 12:49 a.m. On technically Wednesday morning, but to me, it's still Tuesday until you go to bed, right? But I finished the post-game story, so I wanted to talk about Ronald Acuña Jr.'s injury. Here's everything that we know. So if you missed the game in Chicago on Tuesday night, Ronald Acuña Jr. is trying to run out a ground ball, an infield grounder to third in the fourth inning. And he's about two-thirds of the way up the line. You see him turn his head, and he kind of checks to see where is the ball, what are they doing, what's going on, and he back to first, and he keeps running. And about two steps before first, he pulls up a little bit, and he does the classic thing you see as he runs through the bag where he's kind of hopping, and he doesn't really want to put weight on his left leg. Trainers come out to check on him. Antoine Richardson goes running out to the outfield like after him to go check on him. Trainers come out to check on him. They don't stop. He doesn't stop on the field for them to look at him. He just starts walking back to the dugout. And you can see from his movements, from his reactions, the way he's ripping his batting gloves off and stuff. He is angry. He is not happy about the injury, right? He's frustrated. You can see it very clearly. And again, he doesn't stop to get checked out by trainers. They go straight into the dugout. The Braves eventually, like they do, announced that he was removed with, quote, left hamstring tightness. Now, this is the same hamstring that he lost time on earlier in the season. And so that, to me, is the big warning sign here. That is the big red flag. Now, after the game, friend of the program, Jesus Cano, the Athletic, talked to Ronald about the injury, talked to Walt Weiss about the injury. Both of them said that the injury, the initial thought, and you have to remember this is all just initial physical evaluations. There are not MRI machines in ballparks. The initial physical examinations and what he was saying about how he was feeling made them believe that this was not as bad as when he had the hamstring issue last time. Ronald was clearly frustrated. I think the quote here that Jesus got from him, quote, "I'm disappointed. I don't know how many injuries we need to pass in this sport, but it's part of the game." Walt Weiss said that as of now, again, as of Tuesday night after only a physical examination, there was no plans to automatically put him on the injured list, right? He would get imaging on Wednesday. So that means either late tonight, like right now, or first thing Wednesday morning, he will go get an MRI at a local facility. And once they both have that and they hear from him how he's feeling, the pain level, all of that kind of stuff, they'll further evaluate it there. Walt Weiss said it's a day-to-day injury for right now. So it feels pretty safe to say that you're probably not gonna see Ronald Acuña Jr. in Wednesday's lineup. My thought process, I wonder if this is going to be a situation like you had with Michael Harris. If the initial evaluation ends up being correct, that this is not as bad as the quad injury, I wonder if you're going to see the Braves try to minimize how much running he needs to do by letting him be the DH for a week or so like Michael Harris was. Where Harris was the DH for a while, and then he played a little bit of left, and then he finally moved back into center. I don't know if that's as good of an idea for Ronald, because if you think about it, this injury was running the bases. He was trying to beat out a grounder, and he's going to have that situation come up. And I understand you're going to tell him to take it easy. You're going to tell him to kind of back off a little bit. That doesn't mean he'll do it. This is Ronald Acuña Jr. we're talking about. That does not mean that he'll do it. Every time they put some sort of return to play timeline or restrictions on him, the timeline ends up getting accelerated. The restrictions end up getting loosened sooner than initially planned because Ronald just wants to play baseball. So, given the fact that you have a 9-game lead in the division, yes, you lost your game to the White Sox. The Phillies also lost. So you still have a 9-game lead in the division. It feels like the best thing to do is to go ahead and just say, hey, we're going to put him on the injured list. We are going to give him all the time he needs, maybe plus a little bit, before we try to bring him back. Just let him get over this. Let him get past this and get healthy enough where you don't have to constantly be cautious and careful with that hamstring the rest of the season. The worst case scenario here is for Atlanta to try to halfway play him for 2 weeks and then him get back in the lineup but be 85% of what he is, and then end up hurting it again when he pushes, maybe even not intentionally, to beat out a ground ball or to get to a fly ball or to steal a bag or something. So I'm kind of at the point of just like, put him on the IL. If the MRI shows that this is, in fact, more than just a little bit of tightness, put him on the injured list. You know, you've got Eli White back. Part of the reason you struggle with the Michael Harris thing was you also didn't have Eli White. So you were just down so many options at the time because you had so many guys who were out at the same time. There was like a week span where Eli White was out with a concussion. Ronald was still on the IL. And so you just couldn't afford to lose anybody else, right? Is it going to be hard to not have Ronald Acuña Jr. for a couple weeks? Yeah. But a healthy Ronald Acuña Jr. in July and then August and September and October is more important than 80% of Ronald Acuña Jr. for the rest of June, and then 85% of Ronald for July, and then maybe him having the injury reoccur, right? Because the last one was May 3rd through May 18th. He missed 15 days, and he's been back for, I can't do math in my head, 3 weeks? Today should be roughly 3 weeks since he got hurt last time. Put him on the injured list, and let's figure it out for a little while until you get reinforcements. The good news is we are going to have reinforcements soon. Let's talk about how to replace Ronald if they do that, and the reinforcements you're going to get. We'll do that next right here on Braves Today. But first, this episode's brought to you by our friends at IQ Bar, our exclusive snack, hydration, and coffee sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom-infused coffees are the tasty, low-sugar brain and body fuel that you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack's a great way to try all of the IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. And all IQ Bar products are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom-infused coffees. And the Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. Right now, IQ Bar is offering Braves Today listeners 20% off of all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB to 64000. That's MLB to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Okay, if Ronald Acuña Jr. does have to go on the injured list, and again, it is right now 1 a.m. Eastern time. I do not know. We're not going to know until probably the time frame the team typically does these things is usually 10 to 12, as far as time goes. That'll be in 10 to 12 hours from now because it's 1 o'clock here. But let's talk about who to get called up, because your options here, it's not just automatically give me an outfielder, because you have Mauricio Dubon. I know that Ha-Seong Kim has not been hitting, and I was actually going to talk about Ha-Seong Kim on Thursday's show. Tomorrow's show, which is technically today's show, was a pre-recorded conversation I had on Monday afternoon with Gorov about a bunch of prospects. So I was going to talk on Thursday about Ha-Seong Kim, about how little he's playing, and about how if you need to invest more time now in potentially getting him going or not, so that you have a shortstop option later in the season if you do lose a Dubon, if you do lose a Mateo, like you've got pieces, right? But the options right now, before we talk about reinforcements and everything, the options right now is you can bring up an outfielder, right? Like we have to remember Deshaun Kiersey was just recently added to the 40-man roster. They moved Sean Murphy to the 60-day IL to create a roster spot. They added Kiersey and then optioned him to Gwinnett. And it was a confusing transaction for a lot of people at the time. Kiersey had a minor league opt-out. He had an opt-out in his deal that in essence gave him the ability, and the way those work, in writing, you tell the team that you plan to exercise your opt-out at that date. And there's some deals have standard dates. Some deals you pick your own date when you get the contract and the team agrees to that, whatever. But the point is, you in writing tell them you are opting out, and they have X period of time. It's usually 3 days, sometimes it's 5 days, whatever, where they have to either grant you your release or add you to the 40-man roster. And some players actually have an opt-out where they have to be added to the 26-man roster, meaning they have to be in the majors, or you have to release them. Kiersey, as somebody who very little service time, his was a 40-man roster option. So that's why Atlanta did that. They optioned him down because he had 2 options remaining. They optioned him down to Gwinnett. And that was the 4th? That was less than a week ago. If you remember, the minor league option rule is 20 days. You have to be sent down for 20 days to officially use that minor league option. So if they want to, they can call him up right now. And on the off chance that he stays in the majors the rest of the year, he would finish the season with 2 options remaining. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but worth pointing out. In Gwinnett right now, he's hitting .263 with a .298 on base and a .387 slug. It's a 79 WRC plus, which isn't necessarily amazing, mind you. 4 home runs, 27 runs scored, 17 RBI. He has stolen 18 bags. He's not walking a ton. He's striking out a good amount. And in his major league career, he's never been great at the major league level. That's also a total of 102 plate appearances. He would probably become your last man on the bench for defense and base running, and you would be playing, in that scenario, you would be playing Eli White and Mauricio Dubon in the outfield. That's scenario number 1. And then when Dubon was not in the outfield, Dubon would be at shortstop. Option number 2 is they could call Jim Jarvis back up. We saw him at the major league level. Unfortunately, he didn't produce very much in that sample size, but they could call Jim Jarvis back up, which would make Mauricio Dubon essentially a full-time outfielder. And then you would be starting some combination of Jorge Mateo and Ha-Seong Kim with Jarvis on your bench as the last man on your bench. The fact that you have Ha-Seong Kim back and he's never played the outfield and the Braves have not used him anywhere but shortstop, makes me think they're going to call up an outfielder over calling up Jim Jarvis. It's possible though. Like maybe they're okay having 2 shortstop-only guys on the bench in Kim and Jarvis, knowing that Kim has played other positions in the majors before, and knowing that Jorge Mateo, while the Braves haven't used him other places, Jorge Mateo has played outfield before. I think he's played all 3 outfield positions. He's played second. He's played a little bit of third, but he's played 6 positions. I don't think he was that great in center field, but a lot of that was just experience, right? He didn't have great reads and routes and reactions because he hasn't done a lot of it. So, couple options there. Outside of that, your only other 40-man roster position players in AAA. Catcher Maverick Handley, who you got in May off of waivers from Baltimore, and third baseman Nacho Alvarez. And the really confusing thing about Nacho Alvarez is he's not on the minor league injured list that I can see, but he also hasn't played in a game since May 20th. He's been playing exclusively third base in Gwinnett. We saw him do a little bit of catching in spring training. That's just a cross-training thing. They haven't actually played him at third base. But he hasn't gotten into a minor league game since May 20th. And I'm at the point granted, it's not the best, camera angles and things. I haven't even seen him on the broadcast, like in the dugout or anything. Nacho Alvarez may not even be in Gwinnett. So your options are really Deshaun Kiersey, Jim Jarvis, or you have to make another spot on the 40-man roster. Now, Kyle Farmer's been out for almost a month. If you think it's going to be another month for him to come back, you could always add Kyle Farmer to the 60-day IL. It's a strained forearm. He went down May 15th. But other than that, you don't want to move Drake Baldwin because he's going to be back sooner than later. I'm going to get that in a second. You just don't have a lot of other options here. Not a lot of other options for players to call up or ways to make a 40-man spot if you want to call up one of these guys that is down there that's not on the 40-man roster. Jose Azocar re-signed with us. He's been DFA'd twice. He's re-signed with us. Ben Gamel's down there. Brewer Hicklin is down there. Tristan English is down there. Luke Williams can play everywhere, can stand everywhere on the field. He's down there. You've got guys down there. But the roster logistics to get one of them up would be the tough part, because you're at the point where there is exactly one easy adjustment to make to create a 40-man spot when it comes to your position players, and that's Kyle Farmer to the 60-day IL. Your other option, you could DFA Carlos Carrasco for the, I think, 37th time. And then if you call up somebody who's already on the 40-man roster to take the bullpen spot, which at this point, it would have, if you're going off of that, the only option I think you would have, you'd have a couple. You'd have Victor Medeiros. He could come up. Anthony Molina can't come up because he hasn't been down for long enough. This is not an injury replacement. Unless Ronald goes on the IL. Fun fact. The whole thing where a guy doesn't have to spend the minimum amount of time in the minors if he's replacing somebody that was injured? it doesn't have to be a position player for a position player. If Ronald Acuña Jr. goes on the injured list, they can say, hey, we sent Anthony Molina down on the first. He's a pitcher, but we're going to bring him back up as the replacement for Ronald. They can do that. They would just need to also DFA Carlos Carrasco to make a pitching slot on the Major League roster. Not many people know that. It doesn't have to be a position player for a position player. You can just replace an injured player and figure that out later. But anyway, maybe they call up Hayden Harris. Maybe they call up Roldy Munoz, Hunter Stratton, Deisbar Hernandez. You got a couple options there. If you're looking for a long man, it's probably going to be Victor Medeiros unless you do put Ronald on the IL and you can take his spot and give it to Anthony Molina. But in the meantime, other updates. I went way too long on that. I'm sorry. I'm already 20 minutes into the show. Other updates that we got. Update number 1. Hurston Waldrep's rehab is moving to AA Columbus. He'll actually be the first MLB pitcher to rehab in Columbus. First time that they've ever had one, according to them. But Thursday is his start. He's expected to go roughly 3 to 4 innings and roughly 55 to 60 pitches. I want to caution people, do not expect him, as of now, from what I was told on Tuesday, do not expect him to immediately come back up after like one rehab start. The plan, this is like spring training for him, right? The plan legitimately is for him to probably get like 3 more and to use every day of this 30 days of rehab that he gets. And so you're looking at the beginning of July. So you probably get Grant Holmes for another start or two unless they DFA Cookie, move Grant Holmes to the pen, and call up either Medeiros or J.R. Ritchie to replace him. Those are your only real options here, right? Unless you want Cookie to start, I don't think any of us want Cookie to start. So that's update number 1. Update number 2 is Drake Baldwin is currently in Northport, the spring training facility. He'll have live BP on both Thursday and Friday. If both of those go well, he will join AAA Gwinnett for a rehab outing. They are on a road trip in Jacksonville right now, and he'll join them either Saturday or Sunday. It depends how he's feeling, right? 2 straight days of facing live pitching. Do they want to give him a day off? Is there travel concern, weather, whatever, right? But Drake Baldwin going on rehab might be a week. We don't know the length of the rehab, and part of it probably depends on how he looks when he's out there. Can he? The standard Atlanta typically tries to do is they want to see a guy catch back-to-back days before they activate him, right? We just know so much about Atlanta's catcher rehab plans from Sean Murphy, but they typically want a guy to catch back-to-back days before they activate him off of rehab. So that would be a Drake Baldwin. When is he back? I would assume towards the end of the month, right? If he gets to Northport, or if he gets to Gwinnett's roster by, say, the 13th, Saturday the 13th, the spooky Saturday the 13th, you're probably looking at the end of the month. He probably finishes out that series and then plays at least some of the next series before you activate him. Walt Weiss did indicate he thought it could be the homestand. The next homestand starts Tuesday. If Drake Baldwin legitimately just needs like 2 days, like if he gets 2 days of rehab starts on Saturday and Sunday, and then gets activated on either Monday's off day or on Tuesday morning before Tuesday night's series opener at home versus the Giants, I'm going to be like mind blown if he's back that quickly. But maybe he is. So the earliest you probably see him is the 16th. It's possible they have him play with Gwinnett for a good part of next week. And then they bring him back to Atlanta on like Sunday. They play the Brewers at home. And then they're leaving on a road trip to go out west to play the Padres and then the Giants. So it's possible that their thought process here is he gets like a week of time with Gwinnett. It all depends on his timing, how he's doing at the plate. And then we can activate him for Sunday or fly him with us to California, activate him Monday morning in San Diego before we take on the Padres. Either way, Atlanta has reinforcements coming. And that's good news, both from what we saw from Grant Holmes on Tuesday night, where he didn't make it out of the fourth inning, and what we've seen with the potential loss of Ronald Acuña Jr., combined with just the futile offensive efforts of Atlanta's catching group, right? Mostly Sandy Leon, some Chadwick Trump, now Austin Wynns is the backup. Would be nice to get both Hurston Waldrep and Drake Baldwin back so that, one, Waldrep can strengthen the rotation and the bullpen if Holmes goes back there, when Holmes goes back there. And then Baldwin can come back to both fix a negative in offense in the catching position to one of the best in the league and also help cover for the loss of Ronald Acuña Jr. again. That'll do it for this emergency episode of Braves Today. I hope to not have to do another one of these anytime soon, but please like the video, please subscribe. There'll be a video in your feeds later today because it's now 1:16 a.m. Later today with Gorov, it's like a full hour talking prospects. And yeah, we hit some of the highlights, like we hit Briggs McKenzie, Tate South is seen. We talk about, guys being activated, Carter Holton, things like that. But we also get pretty deep cutty, especially towards the last segment. So, and even a little bit of draft talk at the end. So just heads up on that. Please like the video. Please subscribe. I'll talk to you in a couple hours on Braves Today.